Hey, what's going on, friend? My name is Ryan. I've been a youth pastor for a few years now, and I was a creative director for a church for about 6.5 years, almost 7 or so. And so the whole content space is not new to me, and so I'm making videos and all that sort of stuff. And today we're going to talk about social media and youth ministry, which is kind of a big topic because most youth pastors I've ever had a conversation with have had some sort of conversation about what are you doing on social media? How do you do it better? How do you do it more effectively? And there's a wide range of opinions about it and approaches to it and strategies and all that stuff. But I kind of want to just come at it from a basic level of kind of things for you as a youth pastor to understand about social media, so that way when you make your plan, when you empower your volunteers, when you make your teams, whatever it is, you have some understanding about social media and how to utilize it best and not just kind of use it because it's kind of a requirement or use it because it's kind of like what you're supposed to do or something like that. So first, let's remember why people in general are on social media. The very first thing I think we need to understand is why we're even there in the first place. What I find is that there's kind of 4 big reasons why people get on social media, why they use Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, whatever it is. The 4 big reasons I find is first off is, well, social media. Social media is to connect with friends. I find that that was one of the biggest reasons why it blew up and became such a big predominant part of our lives, is because it gave us a new way to now connect with friends. So I find that to be one of the biggest reasons why people are on social media. Second, I find is for entertainment. You think of typically like memes or funny videos on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, even Facebook. We want to find entertainment. We want to find funny videos and things that are informative, and we just in general we want to find entertainment. Third, we want to find news. We want to know what's going on in the world, and we want to figure out what's happening. And sometimes we get news from the news stations, but then we get more information or different information from social media. You think of like Twitter, and you think of like Facebook, and maybe even Instagram. And then as well, we use social media to discover ideas, to discover new ways to do things, whether it's recipes or DIY projects, or sometimes in probably your case, you use Instagram or other social medias to learn about what other youth ministries are doing, what other youth pastors are doing, what other churches are doing. And so you use it to discover ideas. And so I think the big kind of reminder that we can all use is that when we approach social media for our students and for our youth ministries, we've got to remember why people are there in the first place. We've got to remember that key part, because if we forget why people are there, then we're not going to cater towards why people are there, and we're going to start pressing out a message that no one's asking for and that no one's really looking for. And I think that's honestly a big part of why youth ministries don't do great on social media, is because we have a certain preconceived notion about what to post and why we're supposed to be on there, not thinking about why the people that are there, why they are there in the first place. So that's kind of the first things first, but also let's look at just platforms in general, and let's look at what platforms our students are on, because I'll just say this right off the bat. I can probably almost entirely guarantee you don't have any more than 2 to 3 students in your youth group that are actively on Facebook. I don't think any one of your students are actively on Facebook. So the whole Facebook page, Facebook group, all that stuff, honestly, I think we are well past that point. Your students aren't on Facebook. Now, interestingly enough, literally just last week, I was asking some students about this, and they did say some of them are on Facebook, but solely, the only reason is Facebook Marketplace, because it's a great place now to buy used things, and it kind of has replaced Craigslist if you use Craigslist or have used Craigslist in the past. So the only reason I've ever found that students right now, today, high school students use Facebook is because of Facebook Marketplace, and they probably only have an account because somewhere 5 years down the road or 5 years behind, 5 years ago, weird way to say that, 5 years ago, they had to make an account to buy a game or to download something that they wanted to use, and it required a Facebook account. So therefore, they have one. So first off, Your students aren't on Facebook. So that's the simple answer. So there's a bunch of different other platforms that students are on, and so kind of what they're being used for and what platforms they're on. So they're not on Facebook. That's one. They're definitely on Instagram, and what I find more often than not is students don't like to post so much on Instagram. You'll probably find your high school students with like 3 to 4 posts on their Instagram, maybe not even any posts, but they're following a lot of people and a lot of people are following them. And so they are connecting with other people, mostly through stories and mostly through DMs. In fact, the CEO of Instagram, I think about a year ago or so as of recording this, even said that the primary usage of Instagram is not photo sharing, it's not even video sharing, it's actually DMs. So Instagram, in a sense, is a messaging app now, which is very interesting. I'll try to find a link to that interview and hopefully I can post it below, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it or not, but I'm going to try to. So Instagram, people are using that for DMing people like, hey, here's this funny reel I found. Let me send it to you. And now we may have a quick interchange about it, or it may just be a sense of sharing back and forth reels. And then you have TikTok. A lot of students actually don't even have TikTok in the first place because they realize just how addictive and how much of a black hole it becomes. So they don't even have TikTok in the first place. But TikTok is definitely where you just find funny videos, sometimes informative things, and sometimes things like DIY stuff and stuff like that. But for the most part, TikTok's purely entertainment. There's kind of no level of connection there. I've never once connected with someone on TikTok, and I don't find that students really connect with people on TikTok. It's just kind of purely an entertainment app. Then you have Snapchat, and this is where I find most students are having most of their communication. So if a student is going to what we would think as a little bit older, I'm a 27, I was born in 96, so I'm a little bit older. So what I think of as texting you for a student today, a high school student, that's more Snapchat. So their first response to message someone with text is not to send a text message through messages, but it's rather to Snapchat people, maybe even to send a snap with a little bit of a caption. And that's how they're using Snapchat. And then you have YouTube. A lot of students are on YouTube. In fact, right now it's the second most used search engine in the entire world. Conveniently, Google is the number one, and YouTube is owned by Google. So Google owns the overwhelming percentage of searches in the entire world. So YouTube is the second most used search engine in the world. And so students are finding answers to questions, entertainment, a lot of just various content on YouTube. More longer term, really what I think of it is YouTube is replacing TV. So what used to be TV is now YouTube for students today. And then you have things like streaming, which is Twitch, and that's where students just kind of throw on a video, wash dishes, do whatever chore, and you just kind of have a thing playing in the background, or a TV show from like Netflix, but they'll watch just a Twitch stream of a person playing a video game and just kind of watch it sort of in the background. So those are kind of the big social media platforms that students are on and kind of how they're using them. And I think the key to this is understanding for you and your context what platforms make most sense for you to engage in, and then creating a strategy based on some of the reasons why people use those platforms in the first place. You think of connecting with friends, entertainment, finding news, discovering ideas, and how can you use those things within those platforms, because your youth ministry is going to be entirely different from other youth ministries. Because for me, I don't have the people to post on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and various other platforms. I just don't have the team to be able to do that, and that's fine. We don't need that per se. So it's all about finding what platforms are going to be most beneficial for you to be on and to utilize to get to why people are on those platforms in the first place. And I think specifically with Instagram, because that's probably going to be a lot of people's default, is I think a really important piece to remember with Instagram is to not make it just an announcement board. Realistically, people are not on Instagram to remember the date about a thing that's happening soon. Granted, interestingly enough, though, it happens a lot where it's kind of like a catch-22, because in a sense, that's not why people are there, but also people really love that people post that. And so what I find is that there's a good balance between posting things about, hey, Wednesday, hey, Sunday, but when you do that, it's so much more beneficial and impactful when it's, hey, here's a Wednesday, but then here's another post about maybe here's an encouraging thing, here's a Bible verse to remind you of, here's a funny meme, here's a funny video, here's a TikTok Tuesday kind of a thing, a meme Monday, but you supplement, hey, here's Wednesday. And honestly, sometimes, students kind of forget about Wednesdays, and then the posts tell them, hey, Wednesday, and then they're like, oh yeah, Wednesday, and then they come. But do not let your Instagram solely become that, because when it's only that, they kind of drown it out. But there's also that kind of unique kind of back and forth where they need it, but they also drown it out, and it's a complicated mix. But I wouldn't put too much thought behind it, because the big part with social media is what's best is empowering and delegating it off to someone. I guarantee you, if your youth ministry is more than 10 kids, maybe even 5, there's somebody in your group that likes making content, that wants to make content, has a desire to make content, and say, hey, let's train you on some standards and some things that you should be doing. And then you go and make them, because there's going to be somebody in your youth ministry that wants to do this and wants to make that content. Let them use their passion to figure out and discover things, so they can discover things like the balance between posting about Wednesday and posting memes, posting about Sunday and posting encouraging things that people can just remind themselves of. And so empower people to be able to use their passion for making content. But I think it's really important to set a list of standards of things that, like, hey, we should post things like this, make sure it's kind of around this area, and then give them the freedom, give them the ability to then post within those things. So if you've watched all the way through to the very end, I'll kind of leave you with one last thought that I think might be important. Is I think with social media, it's one of those things that a lot of people have various opinions on, and some people are totally like, we need to be in social media, we need to be there, we need to be where students are, and it's really important. And then on the other end, you have other people that are like, no, we should not be on social media, I am totally anti-social media, and it's not good, and never use it. So you're going to have a wide range of gamut of people, and I would assume that if you're watching this all the way through to the end, you're probably not in that boat. But even if you are, that's totally okay. You're learning something new. Something I heard recently that I found to be a really impactful thing for myself is that what I've found in just leading in general is that you can have two people that are trying to get to the same goal, and they have two entirely different plans and strategies to get to that same goal. But interestingly enough, somehow both of them get to the same spot. And it's the weirdest thing in the world, and I have no idea how to explain it fully, but you have two people with entirely different strategies, but they end up kind of at the same exact spot, and it's so interesting. And so what I find is that no matter what your strategy is, I find that where we get strategy paralysis and planning paralysis is we're like, but this strategy, well, what about this one? Is this one better? And this one better? Is this one best? And what about this one? And what if we, and you get all this paralysis for planning and strategies and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, the best strategy for you, the best one for you, is the one that you commit to. And for me, that's totally changed the game on how I view a lot of this stuff, is that my strategy is let's be in social media and let's be a light into the darkness. You may have a totally different strategy, and that's okay. You don't have to have the same one as me, but I just know that's my strategy, and I'm just going to commit to it, because that's what's going to make that strategy the best strategy for me, is the one that I commit to. So hopefully this stuff about social media helps you with navigating platforms and where students are and why students use them. So that way you're not pushing out a message that no one's asking for, and that you're not putting out content that no one's really interested in, but that way you can kind of cater some of your content, and that you can delegate to the people on your team that have the passion and the desire to do it. So that way they can have the resources and the equipment and be equipped, so that way they can do what they need to do. So if you'd like to have more content about social media, I can always drop another video in the future about things like programs, equipment, how to kind of get started and make content when you're on a budget, when you have equipment, that sort of thing, because that's kind of been my wheelhouse for a few years. So if you're interested in that, let me know in a comment, or even message me if you follow me on Instagram. And thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. And I'll catch you guys whenever I upload another video here soon. So have a good one. Peace.